Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
What's going on, guys? This is Qazi. Welcome to another amazing tutorial. So excited about this one because I wanted to take my time before I put out a video like this. The Dark Knight versus Joker grade. And I wanted to take my time because I wanted to put out enough episodes in this series for you to understand what it takes to recreate these looks. This is not, us just being copycats. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You just sit back and you just one piece at a time. You got to break it apart first and you got to put it all together. So now that we know all of that, getting into this is so much fun because I want to look at it first to the time frame, like when they came out. The Dark Knight came out in 2008 and it has that distinct look that we used to get back in the day. The contrast is just unapologetically high contrast, and they just ran with it. And when you look at the colors, it's so freaking saturated on every single hue. It's not like they're taking something back and they're just adding some juice somewhere. No, it's just such a saturated image and it owns it. And especially the specific blue hue that you see was the signature back in the day. Anytime you have a night scene, you would have this specific blue color. Now it's sort of replaced with the teal, but different variations of teal. And that's the cinematic look nowadays. That's just the trend, and trends change. But this is what's hot right now. And if we look at the Joker, it's so different than the Dark Knight. And too many factors again, but first let's just talk about the time frame. Nowadays, cameras are very light sensitive, so they're capturing so much information. And with the HDR craze and everything that's going on, we want to see everything. We want it close to what we can see with our eyes. So that's why you see this detail in the shadows, the highlights are protected, all of that. Now, if we go past that and think about the actual storytelling aspect behind each film, again, they're very different. Both are part of the same world, but told differently. And then with that, the color grade has to support that narrative. And in Joker, it's all about the Joker. And they're talking about how sick the city was and what was going on. And that's where that gunky green comes from. And that's like the main color in the movie. And then they use complementary colors to just add some visual interest. Whereas in The Dark Knight, it's supposed to be like this grim, super dark times. And they're creating that by this sort of imagery, and it supports that. The Dark Knight might date compared to Joker when we look at it today, but when you think about the narrative, it is top notch. It still holds really well, even in 2020. So without any further ado, guys, and for those that want to level up their color grading game, check out the link in the description. 1 hour long training where I'm going to show you how to get the perfect skin tones out of your Sony S-Log 8-bit footage, how to get the clean white look. It's the go-to commercial look. How to get the creamy film look, how to fix the dreaded gamma shift, and much more. Link is in the description. And if you're enjoying the content, make sure to hit a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more awesomeness, follow me on Instagram. I'm dropping value bombs there every single day. Let's roll the intro. All right, so we're gonna start off with The Dark Knight. Technically, if we were to break it down, I can feel like a circular window here and then everything else, boom, gone. There's no information. They want us to focus right here and the back is just so beautiful. That's it. It's a very saturated image. Let's just look at the vector scope. It's very chunky. There's a lot of colors, a lot of different tonalities playing. But if you look at where the vector scope actually sits, it's leaning towards this blue and this magenta. And that's where most of the tones are coming from. Then obviously when you look at the skin, it's extra orange. So they push the skin quite a bit toward the other side to create some sort of a contrast in colors. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, and as always, we're just going to bring in our color palette. We're going to drop it in and just really see what's happening. And for that, I'm going to move this over. I'm going to make this bigger. And let's just read it. So look at it. When I said it's a very saturated color, I mean, just look at the range of colors we see here. So these are Joker colors. I mean, he's just having a time of his life. He's just feeling himself, sticking his head out the window. You know, he's in heaven and it's all his colors. Like, I mean, in just one shot. So great art direction, great cinematography, and even better color grading to like just bring it all together. So this is what we have here. And now let's move on to the shot that we're going to be working with. And it looks nothing like the shot we're creating. And why did I choose this? Because I want you to think outside the box. I want you to understand the context of the scene. You know, somebody made a suggestion. They were like, you know what would really tie it all together is if you add some candles and maybe red lights on the buildings. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is where people get lost and their images look so cheap that when they go for a reference, they literally just copy paste these lights here and then start smearing it all over this frame to sell the look. That's not what it's about. Let me tell you what it's about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under gallery. We're going to pull up the Dark Knight image right here. And then I'm going to click on this guy and I'm going to select selected still images. Okay. So then we get to see our reference image right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so we can see it better. And then I'm going to pull this over. And now if we look at the two shots, characterize this. So I can tell you right now, if I get you this skin on my guy, that's one thing that we can just get in this world. Let's bring the scopes over. The real thing that's happening here is the second I get the sky in this world right here, I take my sky and I put it in this world, boom, we're going to be 70% there. The rest is going to be lower mids and shadows. If I take the rest of the image here and put it in this magenta and blue world, we'll be done. And my goal from this series will always be get you to the reference image as fast as possible. And that does not mean sloppy. That means we're doing it the right way. Because if you're going to be working on a narrative or a short film, indie film, something like that, you're not going to have a big budget. You're not going to have enough time. And for that, you're going to have to learn ways to get there really fast. And then not make any sacrifices when it comes to the storytelling and just really focus on getting the right look right off the bat. And that's the focus, okay? All right, so this one is going to be my noise reduction. And then I'm going to create a new node. And this one is going to be my exposure. And then we'll create a new node. This one is going to be my saturation. This one is going to be my look. And then I'm going to create a parallel node. And let's just make this a little bit smaller so we can see everything. And I'm going to move this over. And then this one is going to be my sky. And then I'm going to have another parallel. And that's going to be the face. And then I'm going to have another one. And this is going to be my look DNA. So, or actually look adjustment. We're going to create another one. And this is going to be my vignette. And then I'm going to do a parallel because I'm going to do another vignette. So you know what? Let's just name it. So this is going to be sky vignette. And then this one is going to be ground vignette. And then we're going to have, this is going to be my global adjustment. And we're going to have sharpening. And we're going to have our grain. So, I mean, it might look like, oh my God, you said that this is going to be a super simple grade and now you have 14 nodes going on. So these two and this 3 nodes might as well not be there, okay? Because sharpening, grain, and noise reduction is just there for some extra support if we need it, but otherwise we don't really need it. So same thing can go with look adjustment. Depending on where we are, we will or won't use it. Global adjustment is another one, which is really a client node. When we're sitting with the client, we're going to make some adjustments. So really 3, 4, 5. If we take out those 5 nodes, we're really working with a 9 node grade. And especially they're not even in the same world. And the kind of extreme look we're trying to create, it's not really a lot. So just keep that in the back of your head. So without any further ado, let's just jump right in. I'm going to start with my contrast. And I'm going to kind of push it. I'm going to go somewhere around here. And then what I want to do is I want a lot of information back in the sky. So I'm going to bring my clouds down quite a bit. I'm going to use my gain to just really bring it down. And then I'm going to take my gamma and I'm going to go. Like I'm just going to go up quite a bit. And then I'm going to take my lift and I'm going to bring it down because I do want some contrast done here. So maybe something like that. So, I mean, as of now in first node, you can see how much personality we brought in this frame. I mean, this is looking really nice. So I'm going to park it somewhere around here. I'm going to go into my saturation. I'm going to crank it around 65-ish. That just gives us enough colors to start working off of, okay? And then in my look, this is where I'm going to start dialing everything into this world. So I'm going to start off with my gain. And I'm going to start taking it towards blue and a little bit of magenta. Just a very delicate touch. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my gamma and I'm going to push it towards that orange. Remember the orange in the skin? So I'm going to use my gamma to kind of get my skin in the right place. And then I'm going to fight it off with my gain. Push it back to get that blue and magenta in. I'm going to take my gamma and just go in the other direction. Okay, so if I turn it on and off, you just saw what we did in this one freaking node. And this is what I'm talking about. Like the blacks are still blacks. Just look the character that we added in this shot just with my primaries wheel. So when I talk about this is the sauce, I mean this is the sauce. This is what can happen here. So this is looking good. So I'm going to leave the look node as is for now. And let's just jump into my sky. And what I want to do here is I'm going to come out. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to use my luminance. And I'm going to pull this up so you guys can see what's really happening. I'm going to bring my low softness up to around 8-ish. And then I'm going to hit Shift H so you guys can see what we're grabbing. And basically, I just want to grab the sky. So I'm going to leave it somewhere around here. And now what I really want to do is I want to do two things. So I'm going to take my highlights and I'm going to start bringing them down. And you're going to see it's going to start bringing in a lot of information here. So let's just pull up our image here. And now I'm going to keep bringing this down. And you're going to see now we're getting this kind of thing going on over here, which is very, very nice. You see? Yeah, so now if I do before and after, just look at this. You see the blue in here and then there's magenta. We don't have that much separation, but it's very easy to create that separation. If I take my gamma and take it towards blue, it's going to start giving me that. You guys can see what I'm talking about. Just look at this color is coming in now. How this color is coming in. And then I have this right there. So if I turn this on and off, I mean, this was looking great, remember? And now look at this and how close we're getting to that. And now if I take my gain and just really nudge it towards that magenta, I just did a hint. I barely touched it. And you see the difference that it made? It just popped everything out. So, I mean, guys, come on. I mean, if I just go before completely to now, like right there, we can park it and this can look great. Now for my look adjustment, I'm not going to do anything right now. And I'm just going to jump right into my sky vignette. Okay. And I'm going to pull back a little bit. I'm going to go right here, create a grad, hit Shift H so we can see what we're affecting. And that just reminded me of one step that I completely forgot. So I'm going to go and correct that right now. And that step is right here. So I'm going to go into my face node. I'm going to create a circular window. I'm going to park it right here. I'm going to turn it into an oval, make it really small. So we just grab his face, maybe something like that, give it some softness. And all I want to do is just track it. And you guys are going to find out why I did that. So I'm going to track it. And let me just raise this and go to frame. So you see that little red dot? What that means is that now we can make changes, but they will be dynamic. So it will still honor the tracking, but I can make a few changes. So like this is looking good. And then I can click and activate it. Okay, now watch what happens. Now when I come down here, I can say, okay, you're losing the face a bit. Stay on the face. Now see, it latches on and it creates these dynamic keyframes. Okay, so we don't have to do the manual labor. Boom. Like instead of rotoing the whole thing, I use, the tracker to do most of the heavy lifting. And then I just went in and created some manual frames. And then it just interprets in between and creates these frames for me. Okay. So now that's it. We don't want to do anything else here. I mean, eventually maybe we can go in here and we can just raise it up and just give him some love on his face. So let's just do that. Just a touch that's believable, something like that. And it doesn't create any halo or anything around him. So that's not bad. That just pulls him out a little bit. Okay, that's nice. But now when I'm in my vignette, look what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit Shift H so you guys can see what's happening. Now, I'm going to be pulling the sky down, right? But I do not want to affect his face. So what I'm going to say is that, hey, take the key, the mask that I created, key of this, send it here. And then in here, I'm going to go right into my key options. And I'm going to say, hey, listen, flip this. So don't do anything to the face, do everything around, like affect everything around, but don't touch the face. And you can even see it right here. So now when I go in here, in my curves, I'm in that sky vignette window. I'm going to come out of this so you guys can see what's happening. I'm going to bring my reference back. And now we want to start creating more drama in the sky. We're not going to do it too much, but we're going to do a little where we just get more juice. Right? So even something like that. Something like that. So look at the colors, how they're just getting in this world now. Like crazy, right? So one thing that I want to do is I want to use my color boost and just go back a little bit. Just pull it back just a touch. Not get too crazy, but just pull some colors out to take the sting off just a little bit. It's looking great. So I want to go in here. I want to grab this. I want to go to the face mask and just want to make sure that we do not affect the face at all. Now we come here. I mean, it's doing a lot. It's adding a lot. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to do the opposite and I'm going to show you what I'm trying to do. You see this, all of this, just pure blackness, right? Just pure darkness. I mean, come on. This is just not natural, but we buy it because it looks so good, right? Right now, our eyes are wandering everywhere. Whereas when you look at this frame, boom, you just go right there. So that's what we need to create. And that's what's going to happen here. So I'm going to go right here, create a window, raise it up, Shift H so we see what we're doing. I'm going to park it somewhere around here like this and bring this image up and then just really go for it. I mean, it's believable. Like, even if I do this, like, you buy it. It's not something that makes you go, whoa, like this just can't be happening. Like, it's pretty out there. But again, so is this. Like how it just falls off. So I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. And now if we look at it, this is where we sit. What I want to do is I want to go back into my sky and like, I think kind of push it more. And then let's just suck more color out of it. So I'm going to go under my hue versus sat. I'm going to take my blue and I'm just going to go easy on it like that. I'm not going to take all the colors out. I'm just going to do that. So before and after. And I mean, just look at how much juice we keep adding into the sky. It's kind of nuts to like where we started to where we ended up. Now what I want to do in the global adjustment is push it a little more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my gamma and I'm just going to bring it down like this, like just really darken up the image quite a bit, grunge it up. Like I want to put it in this world, like really. And then what I want to do is I want to go into my look adjustment and I want to take my highlights and pull them down a little more, like even something like that. Go back into my global adjustment, raise it up a little bit, and then do before and after. And let's make it bigger. Now, the only thing that I can think of, I'm going to do this, okay? In here, I'm going to create another parallel node and I'm going to come out of this. I'm going to grab just the top part of his skin, like the lighter part of his skin, okay? So let's just do this. I'm going to come up here so you guys can see what's happening. Just grab this part of his skin and obviously narrow it down. Soften it up, come out of here. And now I'm going to go back to that and I want to put this orange, like this orange, like crazy orange into that part of his skin. So I'm going to use my gain and I'm going to move it there. This is what it was. This is what it is now. And I think it keeps us, it even adds more drama here and here and here. So it's just one more color to kind of accentuate and give that extra something to the image. I think it definitely helps. And just look at it, right? Like the whole image is so magenta and blue, but then the skin is just almost artificially orange, how it's pulled out. And we just did that here by creating that separation. And then I can take my highlights and just slide it back, right? So that's going to add a little bit more evenness to it too. And now if I look at it before and after, and even if I just come out and look at it here before and after. So that does quite a bit here, okay? And even here we can just see it. Boom, before, after. Now at that point, I'm going to go under my sharpening. I'm going to do the usual, add some sharpening, and that does the trick. And now we're going to go into our grain, and 35 millimeter is going to be good. And we'll just go down 400T, bring it up a little bit in size and strength. I don't know about you guys. I'm really happy with it. I'm going to turn everything off and let's go one by one where we started to where we ended up. We started with the exposure, did quite a bit in there, then added some saturation to have some separation to start creating the look and start seeing all our colors. And in the look, quite a bit was done in the look node. And really the look DNA came from this. And it's the cleanest way to do it. Like we weren't going crazy and isolating every single thing and creating 10,000 qualifiers. Then we went into sky. I grabbed my sky using the luminance qualifier, and it's the cleanest way to do it without any artifacts. And we did quite a bit to just get everything in this world. And after that, we went into our look adjustment and even brought the sky down a little bit more. And it just really puts the two in the same world. And afterwards, I grabbed his face and just tracked it and brought it out a little bit, just a tiny bit. Then we created a sky vignette and did quite a bit. Like that was a pretty aggressive move. And basically I grabbed my key that was created in the face and sent it over and said, hey, subtract that. Don't use the face, leave that as is and affect everything around it. So when our dude goes up, his face doesn't just go to pure darkness. Then we created a ground vignette, or we just pull the ground down, because look at right here what's happening. So we can put more focus on where our eyes should go. And afterwards, I went ahead and created a global adjustment. And in the global adjustment is where most of the meat came from. Because if you look at here, yes, as an individual shot, this would be better because obviously we have more detail, so one can argue. But if you want to match the two worlds and like really get this essence down, well, this is what's happening. Everything is like really crushed. I mean, I'm still not crushing it as much as it's crushed here, okay? So, because I want to leave some detail in the pants, but we are pretty like, we're in this world at that point, right? Then I went ahead and I grabbed his skin and just look at this. A lot was done in the skin. So I just grabbed his skin and I went in this world. I just started adding this orange to like really add an additional element in our shot to give it more separation. And then afterwards we did our usual sharpening, and then finally we did our grain. So let's look at the final look in full screen. Alright, so now moving on to the Joker look, which is part 2 of this video. And we can just look at it, right? If I go back and just look at the scopes right here, how everything is crushed and just living in this lower mid-tones. And then we move to our Joker look and how everything opens up. What's really happening here is this is the way the story was supposed to be told, right? Because in the movie, this is the end, spoiler alert. And finally, he sees the fruits of his labor, and he's just in this zone. He's feeling himself. He's on top of the world. Although he's going to freaking jail, that doesn't matter to him because he's the agent of chaos. So, you know, even this warm tone that they got going on, and it's almost everything is glowing, and it's nighttime, but just look where everything is sitting in the scopes. It's pretty high up there, and it's creating this welcoming, warm feeling. So that's very important to keep in mind. Even like, look at the specular highlights, and his eyes are red, you know? So the image is pushed quite a bit. Like, I mean, we can see it right here, red, all of that right there. And then the red channel is crushed on the, when it comes to the shadows, and that's what creates the cyan. So look, this is completely different to where the other image was sitting, which was in the magenta and blue world. It was playing off of here, the Dark Knight image. Joker, on the other hand, is living on the complete opposite spectrum. So it's more in this red-orange world, and then contrasted by this cyan that we see a ton of. And we can see it right here in these shadow areas. So we're going to be keeping that in mind. So in our image, if we nail the skin, the shadows, and the mid-tones to highlights and bring everything in that warm world, if we nail those 3 elements, we're going to be getting in this space. So that's going to be the objective. So let's start fresh. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my gallery. I'm going to grab the Joker still, and then I'm going to click on this guy so we can see them next to each other. Node tree wise, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be very similar to the other guy. So I'm just going to go ahead and recreate the same node tree structure. First one is going to be noise reduction. Second is going to be exposure. Then we're going to do saturation. Next one is going to be our look DNA. Then we're going to move on to the sky. We're going to grab his face again. This is going to be our look adjustment. We're going to do a vignette, and we're going to do another vignette. Then we're going to do our global adjustment, sharpening, and grain. So this is how it's going to be right here. I'm going to move this over. So this is going to be our node tree structure. I'm not going to name them this time. I already named them last time. So just to speed up the process. So this is going to be our contrast. Let's get going. I'm not going to make it as contrasty as the last one because obviously, as we can see, there's just more latitude here. So we're going to play off of that. I'm going to bring down my gain and then raise my gamma up because the gamma is lifted quite a bit here. We can see a ton of detail, but I'm going to bring my gain down and then bring my lift down a little bit just to create some contrast, and then keep my gamma up. gain down somewhere around here. So as a starting point, this is not bad. I can work with that. So I'm going to keep it there. I'm going to go in my second node and add saturation. And once again, we're going to keep it somewhere around 65, 66-ish. That's enough to get us going. Then let's go into our look DNA. And that's where we're going to start creating this. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my gamma, because that's the most important thing. Most of this warmth is coming from gamma. So I'm going to take my gamma and I'm going to start taking it into that orange world, okay? Almost being ruthless with it. Then I'm going to go into my lift, but I don't want to take my lift too much towards blue. I want to bring it into that cyan world that we see here, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my lift. So these are the Joker colors, right? This that we see here, now we're getting in there. So I want to keep this going. Then I'm going to take my gain and I'm going to start raising it up a little bit, and just look at just even raising it a touch. I all of a sudden start going into that warmth, like into that world. And that's where I want to be. So I'm going to do a little bit more. And now I don't want my highlights to be unrealistic. So I'm going to do it until it makes sense, and I'm going to stop when it doesn't. Somewhere around here. And now I just want to take my lift and bring it down a little bit more. I'm looking at this area right here, trying to match it to this right there. Okay, again, just think look DNA. This is a good starting point. Now this look is more difficult than the Dark Knight one because, again, back in the day, they'd try to stay natural and then would play off with a few colors, whereas nowadays grading can be very heavy in a good way, and that's what's happening in Joker. Like, it's just really pushed, so we got to do a few extra things to get where we were with our Dark Knight right away. So in here, again, I'm gonna go in my qualifiers and I'm gonna create my sky somewhere around 8.5-ish, and then Shift H, and then go ahead and let's just grab that. This is good. And I'm gonna bring this back. Okay, let's make it bigger so we can see what's really happening. And then I'm gonna take my gamma and I'm gonna take it towards that red. And see where it adds red, which is really nice because it's like we're kind of getting this color right here, and that's what I want to get. And then I'm not even touching my gain right now, but what I want to do is I want to go under my highlight slider and pull it down. So see, it just gives me more weight here, and it just starts adding more saturation in the entire image, and I like that. So if I do before and after, like quite a bit happen here, right? And it's just really making that sunrise scene even pop more. And I'm liking where I am, but I just want to add more of that orange red. Like almost this right here. That's what I want to do. So this is looking good. This is looking really good. Okay. Now I'm going to go in this one. Again, we're just going to grab his face and make sure go here and select power window. And then I'm going to make it an oval. Turn it a little bit so it's kind of natural. And then pull it up. Just bring them out a little bit. And then let's go here and track them. I mean, that looks like a better track than the last time. But let's just still correct it. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to change it to frame. I'm going to click right here to activate it. This is looking good. And then I want to come here and I want to pull it down. And I want to come right here, last frame, and pull it down. And now if I play it through, it latches on really well. Okay, so we're good here. Now let's go right here in this node, bring back our image. Now what I want to do in this one is I'm going to go into my primaries bars, and this is where the magic is going to happen. I'm going to take my Luma mix and I'm going to take it to 0. And now I'm going to go into my gamma and I'm going to add some more red and just look what happens. I'm kind of now adding this color. I mean, because this red is very unusual, you know, like it's almost like this, like pretty heavy. So I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to go heavy. Like I'm just looking at this and just kind of getting it in that world. It's okay. I'm going to balance it out in a second. Now I want to go into my lift and pull down the red. And I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. So if I do before and after, like we pushed that red up quite a bit, like here. Because before it was just not even in the same ballpark, and we brought it in quite a bit. Now I want to go into my gain and lift the reds up here and just see what happens. Push it really far and then bring it back, obviously. And then I want to take my blue and just add more warmth. And add some magenta in there. This might look really crazy right now, but let's do a few tweaks and see if we can get where we want to go. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to create another parallel node. I'm going to go into my hue versus hue. I'm going to take my cyan and I'm going to twist it to keep that green going. Then I'm going to do the same thing with my blue. And what that's going to do is pull that weird color that we were seeing in our mountain in the back. And now what I want to do is go under my hue versus saturation and pull cyan and blue down quite a bit. And hold on. So now I want to do before and after, and that's looking better than what we had before. I want to go back into my hue versus hue and do a few things. Now what I want to do in my look adjustment is okay, this is where we were and we thought that this was a good match, and now this is where we are and it's pretty extreme, but it's the Joker extreme, right? This is what you got to keep in mind. It's the Joker extreme. I mean, it's pretty crazy, but this is what this is. It's really crazy. So let's finish everything off, and then in our global adjustment, we're going to be doing some big things. But in these two nodes, we're going to do the same thing we did in the last one. So I'm going to create one for the sky, and that's just going to be to like create some more drama, really. And we're going to send the mask through and we're going to reverse it. So I'm going to go in here and say, hey, avoid the mask and then affect everything else. And let's go in here and just pull it down. And obviously this is too crazy. Let's see. And then let's pull the color out of it. So I'm going to go in my color boost and I'm going to just take the color off. So it's still leaving some juice in, but just evening everything out like that. Okay, so this is looking good. I mean, it's just adding so much more detail. Then I want to create one for the ground. So I'm going to do the same thing and reverse it. I'm going to put it somewhere around here. I'm going to pull it down. And again, we're not doing it too much this time. We just want to put more focus on him, but it's not like the last grade where it was just pushed out of control. So this is, I mean, this is looking really good. And then in the global adjustment, what I really want to do, to be honest, is just grab his skin and take it towards like warm tones, then the salmon, tones that are going on. And this could be his skin. This is probably how his skin is. He's probably not as tan as Joaquin Phoenix, but that's okay. We're gonna try to stay true and get it in that world. So I'm gonna grab it from up top here and then try to restrict it by using this right here. Open it up a little bit. and then blur it out. Let's bring these two close to each other, and I'm focusing, just look at right here. That's what I'm focusing on. So I'm going to take my gain and I'm going to start taking it in that direction. Before and after. And then I'm going to take my highlights and I'm going to pull it down to even out the skin. And just look at it, right? So if I go right here and do before and after, like it's just a touch, but it does even it out quite a bit, okay? You see this right here, that right there, that yellow is, this right here is what I was trying to create right there. And then these colors that we see is in the sky right there. And this whole midtones that are pushed towards red is our image. And then I'm balancing it out with this teal that we see in the shadows here, and then the teals that we see in the shadows there. But then the black points are still black like we see right there. So this is our final look. What we're going to do is just add sharpening as we usually do. Keep it at 47. And then in here, I'm going to add grain because I just remember there was so much grain and it looks so good in Joker. So I'm going to lift it up quite a bit and give it some strength. And that just looks so nice. And now let's turn all these off and then check out our look from scratch. So let's just go node by node. So I'm going to open it up right here. Let's park it right there. So it started with the exposure, didn't go as hard as we did with the Dark Knight, then moved on to our saturation, kept it around the same as the Dark Knight. And then this is where the look DNA was created. Quite a bit was done right here. Then we isolated the sky and really started to play around with this warm tones that we see in this shot. Afterwards, grabbed his face, pulled it out a little bit, and then right here we did some hue versus hue action and just balanced out everything, like pulled out the colors that are just not looking right and sticking out for no reason. So muted all that out in the mountain, and that was pretty heavy. Like this was, we used our primaries bars in this one and really dialed in the look adjustment node pretty far, like to really push the look, because Joker is anything but a natural look. It's really, really pushed. And that's what we did here. Then we went and created a window up top just to give it some drama, create another window to really put the focus where it should be. Then we grabbed his skin and gave it this warmth that we see right there, sharpening and grain. And that is it. One thing that I see is that we're clipping on the red channel a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my primaries bar and I'm going to go into my gain and I'm going to pull it down a little bit until we're not clipping anymore. So literally even like right there, and I'm going to park it there. So let's check out our final look in full screen. I hope you guys had a blast. This one was so much fun to put it together. It was challenging, but oh man, so rewarding at the end when we just look at the results of the two images. Same freaking footage. It's unbelievable, and that's the power of color grading. Drop a comment below. Let me know if you have any ideas for some comparison videos. I would love to hear you guys out. Hit a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more awesomeness, follow me on Instagram, make sure to check the training link in the description below. I will see you guys in the next video.